Well, when I went in, my roommate went in the Navy and I went in the Army. We had the draft then, so you knew you was going to have to go in the military. And I got out of Mitchell, and about 18 days later, I was at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. It was scary, but it was rewarding.
My experience in the service was twofold. I initially joined the Marine Corps in 1971, stayed 4 years active duty, and went to aviation maintenance school and became an engine mechanic in the 2nd Marine Air Wing in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and then spent time going to school for aviation to become an engine mechanic. And then I went to squadron and became a crew chief on a UH-1 helicopter, and spent the remainder of my time in the Marine Corps flying around North Carolina and southeastern United States. And then my second career in the military was in the Army National Guard. I joined the Army National Guard in Salisbury, North Carolina in 1977, and then stayed there for an extended period of time as a helicopter mechanic and crew chief, and flew on various airframes in the Army. And then I went to Warrant Officer School to become an aviation maintenance warrant. I ended up going to Raleigh at the RDU, Morrisville, as an aviation maintenance warrant for Apache helicopters. And then I retired from the Army National Guard in 2012. Also, I had one deployment to Iraq in 2008 and 2009. I spent time in Bayat, Baghdad, Talil, and Balad, and then we came home in 2009.
I enjoyed it. I thought I was doing something for my country at the time. I went through med school, and then senior year of med school, I joined the Air Force for 3 years. I loved being around the airplanes, flying with the flights, and I was a flight surgeon, and so took care of the flying personnel.
I loved being in the service. I loved the structure. I loved learning. I loved traveling. I thought it was great.
I had a wonderful experience, except for basic training. That was a little rough. But the rest of it, I learned a lot and enjoyed myself, and learned discipline through the military.
I would have to say my experience was pretty well versed. I spent the first 2 years of my 6-year career in the Marine Corps in Okinawa, Japan. And at the beginning, that was a complete culture shock, but it was an adaptation, and working with the local nationals and then obviously everybody else in the Marine Corps was actually a pretty good transition. And then from there, I spent the last 4 years at Camp Lejeune here in North Carolina. And overall, everything, it was enjoyable. It was a great learning experience and a great push into adulthood, I guess you could say.
Well, the military changes you real quick, and when you come back and when you get out, some soldiers have more problems than others, but you have some problems because of the big adjustment of what you've been used to and what you've learned. If I may give an example, I was at my church and our minister was trying to get the attention of everybody because we were having a meal after the service, and he kept on pecking on a glass and he couldn't get anybody to quieten down, so I hollered at ease and everybody got really quiet, because when somebody hollered at ease in the military, you better be snapping to attention and be quiet. So but when we got out of church later on, my wife told me quickly that you don't do that again, you're not still in the military. So
my first transition into civilian life was going back and getting an education. I moved back to Statesville and went to Catawba Tech up in Hickory, and received my Associate of Applied Science degree in Mechanical Engineering Technology. And then I followed that on with my going to Appalachian State and receiving a Bachelor of Technology degree with a concentration in engineering. My second transition was retirement when I retired from the Army National Guard. And right now I spend a lot of time playing golf, enjoying life, and teaching part-time at Mitchell as an adjunct instructor in the continuing education program.
Oh, it wasn't hard. I went back to Duke University to become my pediatrician specialist. So it was easy. It was an easy transition. And I graduated from Carolina, so, but I did go to Duke for that 2-year pediatric.
I transitioned into civilian life great. We moved back home to my hometown. I had gone to college while I was in the service, so I was able to get a great job at a university in my hometown and was able to use my Navy experience and my college to get a great job. And since I was home, I had family support. I got married while I was in the service. So, you know, I got married, had kids, got this great job at a university, became, you know, a higher ed person, and I transitioned really well. I wasn't in during wartime, I was in during peacetime, so my Navy job was more like a job. Even though I was on a ship while I was in the service, it was more like going to work every day, so it wasn't a giant transition for me.
Well, my job in the military was, I was a 91 Fox, so it was a small arms towed artillery repairman. So I fixed anything from M9 handguns up to like howitzer cannons. So I had a good knowledge on firearms. I kind of took that knowledge and went into the armed security industry, and I've been doing that ever since. I decided to stay within the industry and move into the more cyber field of things, so get into cybersecurity.
So for me, transitioning into civilian life, I got out of the Marine Corps in 2010, and I took some time. For that first year or so, I was a stay-at-home mom for my oldest, and then I eventually decided to go back to school. And I went back to school for quite some time, quite a few years, and then I eventually transitioned into some part-time jobs here and there before I finally found my niche into photography and graphic design to lead me to where I'm at now.
Transitioning from reserve is much simpler than when you were maybe in active service. When you come back from active duty to the reserve, you're not out of the military. You still have your monthly drills and active duty training in the summertime, you know, at camp. So it's much simpler to transition back into civilian life.
I had a sister-in-law who had gone to Mitchell, and since then, I counted the other day, I know of probably about 12 of my relatives, including my daughter, that's come to Mitchell, and it was the place to be. I remember getting out on the street right here in front of this library. I was in an old 50 Ford. This was in 1960. And I looked around and I thought, what am I doing here? I don't know anybody. I've never been away from home. All I've ever done is pick cotton and prime tobacco and haul hay and those kind of things. What am I doing here? But and that was an adjustment, because you meet a lot of people from a lot of places and they're friends now, and I thank God for it.
My husband and I moved to this area to be near my kids. They had moved to Davidson and Charlotte, and one lives in Richmond. I had retired from my other job at University of Massachusetts and just had gravitated to higher ed again and looked at Mitchell for jobs, and there was an opening here. As I had wanted to get on my feet after high school, I like seeing students get on their feet after high school or after whatever they're going through. continuing ed especially gratifies a part of me to help people get a career, get on their feet. So I just really am motivated to be here and really enjoy it.
I was embarking on building a South Statesville Skills Center to have people in the south side of Statesville have access to education. And I partnered with Mitchell Community College because they were going to bring in their basic educational skills and high school equivalency for the residents to obtain. And it worked out real good. We removed the South Statesville Highway Motel, 21 Motel, and built the Skills Center.
I actually, when I moved up here to Statesville back in December of 2024, I knew there was a college like right around the corner. I live like 7 minutes away. So I actually just came down here one day, started to, ask around. They led me over to that building there, the student resources, and was able to find some classes. So
I've known Mitchell all my life. I lived about 2 blocks from here, grew up 2 blocks from here, and played on that playground down there near where the gymnasium is. We played softball there as kids. But I got out of high school and I attended Mitchell in the year 59-60. In the school year 61-62, I went to Charlotte College, which is now UNCC. And then the school year of 62-63, my father opened a business and needed help. So I left Charlotte College and came back here and went to Mitchell and worked at the same time with him. Didn't have quite enough hours to graduate, so the next fall I took a night class, 3-hour class, and received my Associate of Arts degree.
I would tell someone to not give up. Sometimes one door closes, but another door opens. So just take advantage of the opportunities you have and do the best you can.
I think it's really just listen good and be kind and don't try to overdo anything, but just be available. I'm just a plain old person, and I love it.
Get the training you need and go for what you want in life. Life comes at you fast.
I've been through lots of challenging things, so I guess I would have to say, wherever you're at in life right now, just think of it as a stepping stone to something bigger and better. And just, keep that in the back of your head and put one foot in front of the other and just keep moving forward.
Based on my military experience, in my personal opinion, it's not for the faint of heart. It is a lifelong commitment. No matter which branch you go into, you're a part of a brotherhood/sisterhood for the rest of your life. There's always support somewhere, and it's a wonderful learning experience. Yes, there can be some ups and downs and twists and turns here and there, but overall, for say if you were younger, it'd be a great way to, come into adulthood, to learn things like that, to learn the responsibility. Because when I was in, they taught us things like financial responsibility and, structure and all that stuff. And to implement that into your everyday life is a great experience.
Well, the best advice that I could give anybody would be if you got out of high school and did not maybe want to further your education with college or a trade school, the best thing you could do would be to join the service for a couple of years. You learn a lot, you get to travel a lot, and it matures a person. I think it's good for everybody. I don't regret a single day I spent, and I was there about 15 years. Yeah.